Main Event Madness proudly presents, coming to you from the land down under, Sydney, Australia, and Naugatuck, Connecticut in the US of A. This is Wrestling's Rope Break. Here are your hosts, Joel the Man O'Brien and Eron the Mastermind Ramadanov.
Well, hello wrestling fans and welcome to Wrestling's Rope Break. Everything pro wrestling by the count of five. It is January 26, 2015 here on Main Event Madness Radio. I am Joel the Man O'Brien, coming to you like I always do from the land down under, Sydney, Australia. And joining us like he does every Thursday night is my partner in crime, ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com's editor-in-chief, Eron the Mastermind Ramadanov. And Eron, do you feel like we're on the road to WrestleMania after watching Fastlane last Sunday?
I don't really know. I mean, after Fastlane and Raw, it kind of feels like we're not on the road to WrestleMania. I mean, you know, how many matches do we have right now that are kind of solidified for Mania right now? Two or three?
I think we're maybe on 3, maybe 4 right now. They don't really, it doesn't really have a normal kind of WrestleMania feel to this the next 4 weeks. Hopefully things are going to change, but we're going to be with you for the next hour, talking all the major news, shows, angles, and matches from the past and present, exclusively on Main Event Madness Radio. Of course, we have WWE Fastlane that we're going to be breaking down for you, all the matches, the aftermaths of Raw, so we're going to have a little bit of a mini Raw preview as well. NXT's role going into 2015. It seems like a lot of older wrestlers are kind of coming into the fold. Is this what we really want from NXT? Do we want to keep the young blood flowing through NXT, or do we want to kind of mix things up? Me and Eron are going to have a little bit of discussion about that. Plus the Video Vault visit, plus your spotlight questions, plus so much more. But let's not waste any time, Eron. Let's get straight into WWE Fastlane. We're almost a few days out of it. What did you think about the pay-per-view?
Overall, I felt like it was an average pay-per-view. I mean, it was okay. It was a little underwhelming. There were really no standout matches that, you know, I kind of, that comes to, you know, a couple months from now, will I even remember a match from this card? Probably not. No. So it's, you know, I thought it was okay. I thought it was average. Nothing really special, but it was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't terrible.
I just thought it was pretty much a glorified good episode of Raw when everything was said and done. I mean, you had an undercard that was pretty underwhelming, excuse the pun. But, I mean, we had a kick-ass main event. The last 2 matches definitely delivered in Rusev, Cena, and Bryan and Reigns. But really, like, at the end of it, really, I'm like, we're on the road to WrestleMania, and I compare this time to the last 3 times I've been to WrestleMania. Usually by this time, I'm pretty goddamn excited about what I'm going to see. This time around, maybe I'm just used to WrestleMania. Maybe I'm just kind of desensitized by getting to that show. But, yeah, for the time being, I just don't really know what to think. But we'll get straight into the pay-per-view. So we start off with the 6-man tag, Eric Rowan, Dolph Ziggler, and Ryback versus everyone's favorite combination, Seth Rollins, The Big Show, and Kane. This match... Now, I'm very surprised they actually had this as the opener. Considering how long the tag title match went in later in the pay-per-view, I think you could have easily opened with that match. Considering you had new champions, it'd be a good way to start. And considering both matches ended with heels winning, you know, it didn't really matter which one opened. But really, this is not the one I expected to open the pay-per-view. But this match really punishes the viewer for watching every single week. Don't you think, Eron? Like, really, like we have seen this combination of matches every single week in some way, shape, or form. And the great thing is, Eron, guess what? On SmackDown this week, we get to see it again.
Yeah.
It's my God.
And the funniest thing is they kind of sold that as a reason why you should watch SmackDown. It's
yes, they advertised it on Raw.
Oh, it was, I don't know. As far as the match goes, I didn't think it was that bad. I felt like it was one of their better 6-man tag matches out of the hundreds they've had together. Like you said, in some form or fashion, these 6 men have wrestled 1,000 times. So I felt like when Ziggler and Rollins were in the ring, they seemed to always have some good chemistry there, and they always seem to kind of they're always able to put on a good match. So I was happy when they were in the ring together. You know, I think they gave it 13 minutes
Yeah,
total.
about
I think that
13.
was the official.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not that bad. I felt like the match overall was okay. And, of course, Orton coming out at the end kind of was a nice way to start the show. So
Yeah, exactly. But like we've seen Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins wrestle each other nearly every single week for the last like 2-3 weeks, and like they can put on the best technical match that they can. But I can't engage in this stuff if I've seen it over and over again, and especially when what's at stake. They're just wrestling for wrestling's sake. But obviously Randy Orton's back, the big return. Memphis kind of treated it a little bit lukewarm, but Nashville on Raw the next night definitely gave this guy a megastar reaction like he deserved. But now it seems like we're intertwined in this very complex, overbooked storyline involving Seth Rollins. Now, I loved everything that happened at the pay-per-view. It was treated perfectly. Orton came out like a ball out of fire, and Seth Rollins, the greatest heel in WWE right now, just kept running. It ran out of the building. Just great. It's great. Now it looks like we've got to get used to a storyline where Seth Rollins and Randy Orton are back in the Authority. The way it was played up on Raw, if you haven't seen it, it sounds like they're going to use Orton to play some mind games on Seth Rollins, get back in the Authority and break it from within, I guess. I see where the angle's going, but really when it comes down to it, it's a bit of an overbooked mess. What do you think, Eron?
Yeah, I agree with you. I said to you earlier that I get it from a WWE standpoint of trying to book a storyline. I understand why they're going with Orton back into the Authority, but if I'm Randy Orton from a straight logical standpoint, there is no way I'm giving them a chance. I mean, they tried to end my career, so it's from Randy Orton's standpoint, there's no reason why he should give them another chance. Or, I mean, maybe he's going to, I guess, tear them down from within, and that seems to be what they're going to do with that feud, and it makes sense, where he's going to slowly kind of rip them apart, and there's going to be a Raw or a SmackDown or even at Mania, who knows, where he just loses his mind and just RKOs everybody in sight. So I think that's going to be a nice build to eventually seeing that. But, at the same time, from a logic standpoint, I'd rather see Orton just kind of play this. And you kind of made the point before we went on the air, what he did with the new Nexus when he was facing CM Punk, where he kind of slowly went through the Nexus and finally got his hands on Punk. I think you could do something similar with that with this.
Exactly right. It was 2011, that rivalry. I think the storyline was that CM Punk had the whole new Nexus. Every time he beat one of the members of the Nexus, that would be one less person that would be at ringside. And finally, when he beat you could see where it was going. But when that moment happened, and he finally you knew it was going to be Punk and Orton one-on-one. It was a great feeling. And really the same situations here. You got the Authority, you got roadblocks for Orton to get through. Maybe not do it exactly the same way they did it with Punk in 2011, but why not just throw some roadblocks out there and keep Orton going towards WrestleMania. Maybe have him take him out and take each member out in certain different ways. There's certain ways just to keep it simple. This is a babyface that wants revenge, cold-hearted blood revenge on Seth Rollins, the man who almost ended his career. And right now he's teaming with him. Like in the main event of Raw, they're just having a tag team match. He's wrestling the match like normal. And it's just baffling. I don't understand where Randy Orton's coming from. And hopefully they have some answers in the next 4 weeks. But moving on to this great undercard we had for Fastlane. Cody Rhodes, Stardust versus Goldust. I'll give these guys this much. I thought the promos before and after the match was great. I thought the emotion that Goldust brought to the match, as well as Cody afterwards, you can see where this is going to go. And it looks like we're going to get a WrestleMania match after all, as Cody Rhodes was defeated by Goldust, and it looked like a botched finish. I don't know what you thought. Did that look like a botched finish to you?
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I didn't really know what happened, and I forget what WWE calls him now, but Rudy Charles from TNA, the former TNA ref. I don't know what he did there. He his wrist hit his wrist went down for 3, but his hand never went down. But he went for I don't know what happened there. Something. It
was a mess. It was a little bit of a mess. I love the fact that this match, this heated blood feud, started with holds. wrestling holds. I'm like, you might as well just punch the guy in the face. But in the end of the match, I really felt this crowd really kind of killed what kind of great work was put on show. I think this was Memphis pretty much all night. They were pretty much dead the whole way through. They loved the catchphrases. They loved chanting Uso. They loved chanting yes, yes. But pretty much for the rest of it, it was a pretty dead crowd, and it kind of hurt Rhodes versus Rhodes. I will say there's something I like about this. I like the fact that Cody Rhodes is slowly coming out of his shell via Goldust. Sure, Stardust is losing his matches because he's not focused, and Goldust is trying to teach him a lesson. But really, at the end of the day, you're going to have a good family reunion. The Rhodes brothers are going to come back together. Hey, and maybe we'll just go to Goldust and Cody like we did back in 2013 and make them just a normal great tag team again. But time will tell.
Yeah, I've been a kind of maybe a protagonist or an antagonist of this Stardust gimmick as a whole. Me and Crazy Bill Shannon from PWP had a kind of a big argument about this during Fastlane on Facebook, where we kind of went back and forth, and he was saying that Cody has made this gimmick great, and he was handed this pile of crap, and he got it over. Well, I don't think this gimmick has really ever gotten over per se. I think he's kind of in the same spot he's always been. Cody Rhodes and Stardust don't really have much of a difference as far as where they are in WWE's ladder. So I don't know if the gimmick per se has gotten over, but I've never really been a fan of it. I think it's forced. I think some of the things Cody's done with it have been good, and some have been bad, like that hissing thing is just awkward, and it feels like he's trying too hard to be this weird and charismatic, guy that's just out there. I think he's trying a little bit too hard, but I give him credit for taking this character and trying to make it somewhat presentable. But the match itself I thought was good. I think, those two, whenever you put them in the ring together, whether it's against each other or together as a tag team, they always put together a solid match. And I think this is obviously going to be maybe Goldust's swan song. I think this is going to be it for him. I think he's going to go into WrestleMania with Cody. He's going to do the job, and he's going to ride off into the sunset or take a lesser role on WWE's main roster. So I don't know. I think it's nice for them to get their spotlight at WrestleMania. Brother versus brother. I'm hoping that they involve Dusty Rhodes in some kind of way, maybe being at ringside, or if they want to make him the referee or something like that. It'd be nice. But I'm happy that WWE is giving them the spotlight to go into WrestleMania with.
Usos versus Kid and Cesaro for the tag team championships. I went into this match expecting a lot. I really, really was expecting a blowaway show from these four guys, and the end result was I felt a little bit undercooked. I actually really enjoyed their Raw rematch the next night. I thought it was much better than the pay-per-view. I thought there was just something there that kind of clicked more. Maybe it was a bit more of an enthusiastic crowd. It built up to a nice moment there at the end on Raw. But with this match, I think, again, there was a lack of heat. They liked cheering for the Usos, but that was pretty much it. And but at the same time, I can't complain because Cesaro and Kid are the new WWE Tag Team Champions. I think it's great to have a fresh new tag team that's just come together, win the tag titles. These are two guys that 9 times out of 10 throw you out a good match, sometimes even a great match, depending obviously on the opponent. And what do you think of this match, Aaron?
Like you said, it was a little bit underwhelming, but I am happy that Kid and Cesaro, two guys that were kind of floating around in on WWE's roster and not really having a purpose or anything to really do. I'm glad that they were put together and now they're tag team champions. I'm always a fan of that. I'm always a fan of putting two good workers together as a tag team and seeing if they mesh and if they can gel together. And these two have. The only thing I've got to say about Tyson Kidd though is those tights are just god awful. That ring gear is just what is that? It looks like an 11-year-old's art project. It's like purple with like these bubbly letters. I have no idea what that is.
It's a bit wacky. Yeah,
I don't.
And I think the character isn't really explained that well on television.
Yeah.
Like, actually, on NXT, he's not really that well explained either. Like, he's a husband who likes his cats, and he writes fact and he writes cats on his knee pads. I don't know. I think maybe some synergy in the ring attire between Cesaro and Kid might be better for business going in here. But really, I have to look at the future for Kid and Cesaro, and not in the future as a tag team, but just the division as a whole. Like, where do you go from here? Obviously the Ascension was on a winning streak until they got beaten by the Primetime Players. in a god-awful segment from Raw. I don't know if anyone's seen it already. Hopefully you have by the time you were listening to this. But the Ascension have been undefeated. They wrestle primetime players. They lose on a fluke. And then straight after the primetime players winning, just so that there's no celebration or no putting over the fact that they've beaten an undefeated tag team, the Ascension just lay out primetime players. What destructive kind of booking is this? Who benefited from that in the end? No one.
Nobody.
And it's like, well, why even put the match together? There's so many questions that go into this kind of like mid-card booking. It's lazy. We see it way too often. And really, when it comes to Kim Cesaro, sure that they're the champions, but the champions of what, really, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, and this tag team division's kind of been this way for, a couple of years now, and there was a time where we were kind of all excited about the tag team division. I think it was maybe 2013 when you had Rollins and Reigns, you had the Goldust and Cody Rhodes, you had the Usos, you had, and even primetime players, you had a good core of 4 solid tag teams that were kind of intertwined, but now, with the Goldust and Stardust kind of breaking apart now, and, the Usos have been in the spotlight for almost a year, since maybe even longer, since last year's WrestleMania. So I don't know. I don't know what they do with the tag team division. Like I said, I'd like to see them put 2 guys together that aren't being used and make them a tag team. I mean, I don't see why that's so out of this world.
We've got so many guys that are at that level. Yeah. They're just like at that stagnant level. All they just need is some backing, some legitimate backing from the front office, and leave the rest to them. Like Kid and Cesaro have got to where they are through just Instagram and social media, kind of like their gang signs and their photos. Like the photo that's was up on the Wrestling's Rep Break Twitter page was this photo that they took with Bret Hart doing the gang sign. I'm like, that's cool. Like that's really really cool stuff. They should definitely promote more of that stuff. Bloody, they've got 5 hours on primetime television. Like they should definitely take advantage of. The Triple H Sting confrontation was next. I mean, if you break it down, this is pretty much everything that should have happened in a segment to set up a WrestleMania match, I guess. It just wasn't. It was nothing special when everything was said and done. The brawling part of it was pretty average. For anyone that's been watching Sting on TNA before he came here to the WWE, you would know that Sting's great wrestling days are definitely behind him. He's old. He's I wouldn't say he's immobile, but he's getting to that stage. I mean, I think the last good match he had was against Austin Aries. And there's Austin Aries, like a very light, agile competitor. And Triple H is a great worker, and they'll have a good match. And I'm sure that they've been working through the stages of the match, and probably have it memorized by the time they get to WrestleMania. But the best part of Sting's repertoire is his talking. I loved his promos in TNA as the authority figure in that company. I thought he flourished and had some amazing moments on the mic. And we had the segment where Triple H is doing all the talking, and Sting's just silent. And you're really kind of building the fans up to this moment where you expect this wrestling match to be amazing, and I just don't think it's going to happen. And I think the best way to do is just create excitement from other areas and do it through his promo ability, through Sting's promo ability, and have these guys joust by the end of it. Hopefully, obviously we've got 4 weeks left. Then we'll see some talking from Sting, but if they keep him mute for the whole time, they've missed out on something really, really great.
I don't know. I think some people would argue that some of Sting's best work is when he was silent, in his late WCW days. But I'm kind of with you on that aspect.
But he wasn't even that good back then, Eron. Really, he was silent. He was off television for I think an entire year. He appeared a few times and had a god awful match against Hogan. I think the nostalgia is going to be quickly stripped away after this WrestleMania match. So you might as well capitalize on everything that's good about Sting, and really, his promos are his best part of his character.
Well, yeah, like I said, I think some would argue that was the best time of his career, but I'm kind of with you in the camp of I love Sting's best work for me ever was when he was channeling that crazy side of himself in TNA, when he was kind of that Joker character almost, when he had the face paint of the Joker. And
yes.
I think that was kind of his best mic work I've ever seen from him. I don't know if they would want to capitalize on that now because we haven't really seen that from him.
I think what we saw from Sting when he left TNA was a Joker-esque Sting hybrid character, where like he kind of channeled the craziness, but not to the degree where he was like the Joker. I personally got to the point where the Joker character was becoming a bit long in the tooth for me, and I think he really kind of just toned it down and found himself again in a very much like a borderline kind of character. But just very quickly, are we ever going to find out why Sting attacked Triple H? Because we haven't really got that answer yet.
I think in due time. I think eventually we're going to get a promo from him as we get closer to Mania.
I'm going to put money on it. I'm going to put money on it that we're not going to see it. We're not going to get an explanation.
Okay. I'll take that bet. I think Sting eventually will explain why he's going after Triple H. I think they have to.
Don't think it's going to happen.
I'll
put $20 on it.
Okay, deal.
Done.
You have to PayPal me that because I'm not going to Australia to get it. So,
moving on. Paige versus Nikki for the Divas Championship, the match that everyone's been looking forward to. Oh my god, I was so glad to see this match. Not really, but anyway. Nikki's just getting worse in the ring. And I feel like Paige, over the last few months, has just lost her edge. Making her a babyface is just... Why? Why make her a babyface? I don't really understand. They tried, but an out of nowhere finish just didn't really help the match. And what was that with that random camera? The turnbuckle camera? I've never seen that. What the hell was that?
That I guess something new that they wanted to try out. Even on Raw, I noticed in the main event almost that there were these big on top of the turnbuckle they were like almost a 6-inch extension, making the turnbuckles look immense, like the ring post look huge. And apparently there's a camera now on top. I mean, I really understand it because. One, it's grainy. It's grainy as hell. I mean, it looks like I don't even know what the quality of the camera is not very good. And two, we already get that old school WCW camera angle as it is. You know, when the cameraman's on the ring apron himself in the corner. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why they would feel the need to have something like this. I mean, I guess maybe the only angle I saw is when they were apparently saying that Nikki pulled Paige's tight, so maybe that's a good camera to have there. I don't know. It was weird, and it didn't need to be there. It honestly didn't need to be there.
It was a big TNA moment, really. It's like we're going to try something innovative and have these weird cameras that don't really add very much to the ambience of a match. But that was the Divas match. Obviously, in getting the show ready, there's been a bit of a Twitter, a war of words, so to speak, between AJ Lee and Stephanie McMahon over Patricia Arquette winning the Best Supporting Actress for Boyhood at the Oscars this week. And it looked like AJ Lee used this time to kind of ridicule WWE's treatment of women in regards to pay and wages, and kind of bringing that subject up on the forefront. Is this an angle, or is this actually real life happening before our eyes? I'm not sure. And obviously, it's AJ Lee's association with someone that is just truly loved right now in WWE, CM Punk, kind of makes this feel even more fueled than it already is.
Absolutely, and like you said, it's really awkward to the point where, we've got to remember WWE is suing CM Punk because of the whole medical situation with the staph infection, and the Chris Amon is suing for defamation of his character as far as a medical physician. So this must be really uncomfortable for AJ Lee to be working for WWE and having WWE sue her husband. I can't see AJ Lee being in WWE much longer. No. I don't see how it could happen. And good for AJ Lee to kind of stick up to for Stephanie McMahon. I'm a big Stephanie McMahon lover because of course she's married to Triple H, but I think it's nice to see someone like AJ Lee who is just going to call Stephanie McMahon out for her BS, and she's got a strong point that, Stephanie McMahon is doing this whole thing on Twitter where she's supporting women's rights. Well, you don't give much time to your women on WWE programming, so, it's almost hypocritical. And even Vince McMahon followed up with a tweet saying that, to stay tuned, that the Divas might be getting some more time very soon, so...
Well, they need to actually flesh out their characters and invest in these characters and book these characters right for anyone to care if they give more time to Divas on television. Like I think we had a 14-minute Divas match at the Royal Rumble, I think, wasn't it? Was it the Royal Rumble that we had that long tag team match with like Paige and someone else? I've forgotten what it was. We see, ladies and gentlemen, we watch wrestling all the time, and we can't even remember a pay-per-view match that happened like a month ago. It's crazy when you think about it. But yeah, giving time to the Divas is great and all, but if there's no fleshed out characters, what's the point? You know, like it's just going to be 14 minutes of dead wrestling that no one's going to care about. Moving on, we talked about the Divas for a long time here. But moving on, Bad News Barrett versus Dean Ambrose. Talk about matches being shot in the foot by booking. Now, I was very vocal last week about how I felt about the storyline and how stupid it was that Dean Ambrose couldn't just challenge for the Intercontinental Championship after beating Bad News Barrett one-on-one. In this match, after building up all this time and finally getting his match, Dean Ambrose gets disqualified for kicking too much ass. He was stomping him in the corner, and that's the end of the match. And Dean Ambrose lost. Again. On pay-per-view. For the Intercontinental Championship against Bad News Barrett. What is wrong with this picture, Aaron?
It doesn't make any sense. Like, you have Dean Ambrose chase around Bad News Barrett, like you said, for a title shot when he could have just, got one because he beat him. But instead, he's chasing him around to get a contract signed. He gets the contract signed by handcuffing him to a ring post, finally getting his signature. Then they get to the match, and he gets disqualified from not hearing the referee's count right next to him. It just throws logic out the window, because if he cared so much about the IC title and getting an opportunity, he would not get disqualified after not listening to the ref's 5 count. It doesn't make any sense, and if you want Dean Ambrose to have the title so bad, where the point where you have him steal it from Bad News Barrett, why don't you just give it to him? It doesn't make any sense.
I'm fine with babyfaces stealing the championships if they've been screwed out of the match. Dean Ambrose was never screwed out of the match. He lost once again at a big time match because he was an idiot, because he didn't follow the rules. And he just looked like an absolute fool. This finish should just be just taken out of the booking book at WWE. Like, it doesn't benefit anyone. And now it looks like on Raw, it looks like we're going to get a fatal 4-way match because everyone's beaten the champion in a fair one-on-one match. So if Wade Barrett leaves this 4-way situation between R-Truth, Dolph Ziggler, and Dean Ambrose and wins. And now that the geek of all geeks, who's Wade Barrett, beats them all. Can you imagine if that happens? And like, and R-Truth thrown in this mix. If
I would have told you a month ago that R-Truth would be on WrestleMania battling for the IC title, what would you have said to me?
We don't know yet. We don't know yet.
We
don't know yet.
What if we get a fatal 4-way with R-Truth involved in WrestleMania? What would you have said to me if I said that to you a month ago?
You know what? I actually would think about it for a few seconds because WWE's booking is pretty horrible as of late.
Oh, you got a point.
But when it comes down to it, I'm trying to find my toilet break within the WrestleMania card, and I think I might have found it.
There you go.
That's how much I feel bad about this. Bray Wyatt. Let's move on to Bray Wyatt. It was a pretty good little deal here. I like the bait and switch that happened. Obviously, everyone heard Undertaker's music. The coffin came out. I think me and Eron are both in agreement that we predicted that Bray Wyatt was in the coffin, and Bray Wyatt was in the coffin. Big smiles when the coffin door opened. I loved it. I thought it was and it was probably one of the more focused Bray Wyatt promos. Now that he has, everyone knows who he's talking about. I thought it was one of his better promos, and it was in front of the live audience. Yeah, I thought this was quite good.
And I'll tell you why it was one of his better promos, because we saw him finally in a different scenery. Instead of seeing him backstage in some dark room, we see him out in the arena, and it kind of adds a new element to that promo. When I first heard Undertaker's music for a second, for maybe a millisecond, I was like, oh my God, the Undertaker's back. And then I was like, well, it's definitely Bray Wyatt, and especially when the casket started being rolled out, I knew it was Bray Wyatt in the casket. And I love that Bray Wyatt, for the first time, said the Undertaker's name and identified who he's been talking about. And this feud I'm looking most forward to now. It's kind of hand in hand with Sting and Taker, or Sting and Triple H. I'm interested to see the mind games. I'm interested to see who gets the upper hand every week, as far as if that's another talking point, if Taker's even going to be on WWE television leading up to WrestleMania, because apparently there was some report by PW Insider saying that Taker won't even be on Raw or SmackDown leading into WrestleMania, and that he's going to appear for the first time at WrestleMania 31. Do I buy that? No, I don't buy that, because there's no way WWE would go into WrestleMania not having one of their biggest matches, probably one of their big four, with one of the participants not even showing up on free TV. I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm looking forward to this feud, and I can't wait.
Well, it's definitely going to be the battle of the amazing entrances at WrestleMania. I think if anyone's going to trump The Undertaker's entrance in ambience and aura, it's going to be Bray Wyatt and vice versa. So it's going to be very interesting. And I think it's going to be this is the dark horse feud for Mania. I would really like to see Bray Wyatt get out of the studio now. He was back in the studio this past Monday night on Raw. It doesn't feel as interactive. I understand the little crazy psychedelic intros and outros that accompany his promos, but I need to see some devilish action coming from Bray Wyatt.
I remember many years ago there was something along the lines of, I think it was Diesel and Taker when they were feuding back and forth, and I remember a casket was out at ringside and Diesel opened it up and it was a lookalike of him, almost an exact replica of him. And I would have liked to have seen something like that where, there was a backstage segment with Bray Wyatt this past Monday, and I would like to have seen him open that casket and it was a lookalike of Taker or something like that, where just to kind of give a creepiness, because we haven't really seen much of like you said, a darker side of Bray Wyatt. We've kind of seen that kind of psychedelic, with these long-winded promos. I would like to see a little more of a darker side from him. I really can't wait for them to interact.
And then we got Rusev versus John Cena for the United States Championship. It's all about presentation. It's all about making matches feel important. And Lord and behold, the hype video, the big-time ring announcements for the championship and the challenges, and the amazing facials by Rusev all the way through made this match almost perfect for what it needs to be right now leading into their rematch that's going to happen at WrestleMania. It's crazy what happens when WWE has a definite direction of where they want to go. And right now, they know that they're going to have a rematch coming at WrestleMania. And they know what they need to do for storylines. They know how to build up Rusev. They know how to keep Cena hot. It's crazy how this same company who keeps throwing Eric Rowan, Ryback, and Ziggler at us, it's mind-boggling. This is excellent in every single way. The hype video just presented Cena as this rugged old veteran, how he wants to do it, and never give up. And Rusev is just, this guy is so he's got such untapped potential right now. He's agile, he's quick, his facials and his reactions to things are incredible. He was crying when he beat John Cena, even though he beat him completely unfairly with a kick to the balls behind the ref's back, because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, Rusev is a heel. It's very easy to keep hating Rusev when he cheats to beat someone like John Cena. And at the end of the day, that finish still works perfectly because John Cena passed out because of the accolade. So Rusev, in the record books, has beaten John Cena by submission. He left John Cena completely unconscious. Amazing finish to a great match.
Yeah, if I had to kind of define this match in one word, I'd probably say execution. Everything was executed perfectly. They told a great story throughout the match, and I loved Lana's interaction at the end. She didn't really get involved throughout the match. She got involved when she had to, and it was quick, and it was perfect. She got in, she got out. It wasn't too much, it wasn't too little. It was just enough for Rusev to get that upper hand, and Cena passing out was something really, really cool, because I was a little worried, and as we were going to Fastlane on the prediction show last week, we kind of were worried on how they were going to book this, and would it be a DQ finish, or I was really happy to see this kind of finish, and I thought Rusev, like you said, his selling ability was superb throughout the match.
Yeah.
Being able to, like you said, crying after the match. I mean, just it sets up match number 2, which I love, and it gives Rusev this stamp of approval as far as being one of the top heels in the company. So I loved everything about this match.
And I was a big advocate for saying I'm not exactly sure if I would love to see a rematch between these two at WrestleMania. You know what? It would actually be good for one time for these matches that they have at WrestleMania to be the final matches in this series. I would love it if this is the end of the feud. This is it, and they go their separate ways and go to something else. I'm not a big fan of this. WrestleMania is the start of the feud. WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year. Feuds die, and rivalries come to a head at WrestleMania. And I think we should really kind of see that with Rusev. But my point is, I didn't expect to be excited about a rematch between these two. But I tell you what, the booking has been solid. The follow-up on Raw was fantastic about now Rusev's denying Cena his rematch in typical heel fashion. I love it, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in 4 or 5 weeks. It's going to be very interesting to see how the crowd reacts to John Cena this time around, if they're going to boo him out of the building or if they're going to side with Rusev. And, of course, we have the main event. The main event that had everyone talking, that had everyone rumoring that's going to be a 3-way, that Bryan's going to be involved in it somehow, that they would be stupid not to have Daniel Bryan in this match. When all said and done, Roman Reigns defeated Daniel Bryan without a shadow of a doubt to move on to face Brock Lesnar for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 31. Let's first of all, before we get in the match, Aaron,
give it to me.
Roman Reigns is going to WrestleMania. And it's just going to be Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar.
Who predicted that, by the way, last week?
I guess you did, yeah. And congratulations for predicting WWE's idiocy in not having...
Oh, come on.
It's idiocy, Aaron. Like, listen, Daniel Bryan, what is Daniel Bryan going to be doing for WrestleMania now?
He's going to be feuding with Sheamus.
Is that right?
Yeah, looks like it.
Well, I watched Monday Night Raw and it didn't look like they had a shadow of an idea of what they're going to do with Daniel Bryan. Okay. Let's just get the Daniel Bryan thing out of the way first before we even talk about Roman Reigns. Daniel Bryan not being a part of the main event at WrestleMania is ludicrous. This guy, I don't care what you say, Aaron. This guy is the most over natural, organic babyface that the company has. And they've put him in this role to endorse Roman Reigns. When the man has such a massive fan base all around the United States and all around the world, you don't use him as an enhancement talent. You know, like, I love the match. The match was great. Daniel Bryan, for his role in making Roman Reigns look like $1 million, mission accomplished. It was easily one of Roman Reigns' best matches, but I don't know how Daniel Bryan can have a supplemental role going into WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, I was the one that wrote an article on how they should be pushing Daniel Bryan to the moon and giving him this Austin-esque push where he is the top guy and pushing him as such. But at the same time, I understand why they're going in this route. I understand why they're giving Bryan this almost enhancement talent type of feel just right now. I think after WrestleMania, I think we'll see him back into that spotlight as far as maybe him feuding with Reigns in the summer. But
it'll be too late.
No, I don't think so, because I think if you would have had I've kind of changed my tune over the last couple weeks, and I think having a triple threat match 2 years in a row might be detrimental to the main event itself. And I think if you throw in Daniel Bryan to the Brock Lesnar Reigns match,
it becomes and you eventually have awesome.
No, but let's say you have Reigns. Who wins that match if you have a triple threat match?
Well, again, it just depends on Brock Lesnar's contract situation.
No, I mean, like, who should win that match?
Daniel
Who
Bryan.
do you think should win that match?
Daniel Bryan, yes.
Who does he pin?
Who's he pin? Pins Brock Lesnar.
Okay, so then what do you have next? You have Bryan and Reigns go into a feud after that?
There you go. Well, but that's a natural feud afterwards, sure.
But then but what means more to Reigns? What puts him more over? Beating Bryan or beating Lesnar?
Well, it's obviously going to be Daniel Bryan because he's got the established kind of like fan base. I'm not exactly sure.
I think if you have Reigns and Lesnar one-on-one, I think if when Reigns eventually does win, I think that puts him more over than him beating somebody in a triple threat match. And putting Bryan into that match almost takes some of the spotlight away from Roman Reigns being this next John Cena. Now, like I said before, I'd love to see Daniel Bryan in the main event. I think Bryan versus Lesnar is a better move, a better match from start to finish. But I understand WWE's dilemma almost in the fact that they want to put Reigns over and they want to give him his moment at WrestleMania. And we have to remember a couple of months ago when we were getting into Rumble talks, in the summer, and there was rumblings about what the main event was going to be. A lot of people wanted Reigns in the main event. A lot of people wanted him to face Brock Lesnar and beat him for the world title, especially when they heard that it was possibly going to be Rock and Brock, and that Vince was leaning toward that route, and obviously it didn't happen. And Triple H was leaning toward Reigns and Brock, and a lot of people wanted Lesnar versus Reigns. So we just got to remember that giving him the spotlight isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I'm solely, and after this match, especially at Fastlane, I'm 100% sold on Roman Reigns as a top-tier talent. Is he ready for the spot? No, but like Triple H has said on the Stone Cold podcast, nobody is ever truly ready for this spot. And I think it's better to throw Reigns in the deep end here and see if he can swim rather than, protect him and keep a little shield around him and wait for next year. I think, I don't know. I think it was a good, perfect ending at Fastlane. I like that Daniel Bryan gave him his endorsement. And I'm excited for Reigns and Lesnar. Hopefully it's a better match than, Goldberg and Lesnar at WrestleMania 20.
I think it would definitely be better than that. But, time will tell. In regards to this Roman Reigns, he's not ready. He's not ready. And I tell you what, it's gonna be a massive backlash. I'm predicting it now at WrestleMania 31. I'm gonna be there at ringside, watching this match. I'm going to listen to 70,000 people boo the hell out of Roman Reigns. Because the best characters that have come through that have been beloved by the fans are the ones that grow organically, that prove it in the ring, that prove themselves in spite of the system. Like, Austin was a great example of that. Rock, to a degree, was a certain example of that. He came in as a babyface. No one liked him as a babyface, and he found this organic character. And Roman Reigns will be ready. I've said this so many times in the last few weeks. He will be ready. I can see what they see in him. He's a big guy and all that stuff, but god damn it, he's not ready for it yet. And I think Daniel Bryan in the mix would help enhance if Roman Reigns being that guy if they have to go there. But
I actually think that the Reigns and Lesnar, I think it'll be more 50-50 if anything. I don't think it's going to be 100%. Booing Reigns, do you?
Well, he does have that. He does have the females and the kids are so slowly kind of morphing towards him in regards to like a John Cena kind of reaction. But we are dealing with an international crowd that has fallen in love with Brock Lesnar. I have no doubt about that, and so they should. But I just think he's going to be outclassed at WrestleMania. I hope he succeeds. And I've been on Monday Night on Raw, I thought his promos are getting a bit better. He's becoming much more natural behind the mic. Obviously, some of the agents have watched that really great NXT promo that he did all those years ago when he first broke onto the scene. He can do promos, and he's growing into the role. He's getting better. But we're talking about the main event of WrestleMania. He broke up with the Shield, 6 months ago, 7 months ago? And now he's already ready for the main event at WrestleMania? Other people scratch and claw their way to the main event of Mania, and they did it over many, many years. And Roman Reigns is getting that push now. Hey, under pressure, he could go fantastically. Who knows? But for the time being, there's a lot of work to be done. And the endorsement of Roman Reigns. Oh, the last thing I'm going to say about this. On Raw, the promo with that Paul Heyman cut on Roman Reigns. I'm sure it was said all in tongue-in-cheek by the character of Paul Heyman. But God, the wording of associating Roman Reigns with Bruno Sammartino, with Bret Hart, with Stone Cold Steve Austin, with The Rock, and how he put his money on Roman Reigns in a fight. The fans aren't ready to accept Roman Reigns holistically as that main event character. So don't force it down our throats that we want to take the credibility of Paul Heyman and have him say these things and expect us all just to be like, oh, well, Roman Reigns is fantastic. It's not going to work that way. If they follow that road, the forced endorsement by Daniel Bryan and the forced endorsement by Paul Heyman, there's going to be a severe backlash. You don't force things down WWE fans' throats.
Well, I think the promo itself by Paul Heyman was a little bit more about Brock Lesnar than Roman Reigns, and I think it came when I first heard him starting that promo saying, like you said, the Sammartino and Reigns, who am I putting my money on? I'm going with Roman Reigns. As he kept going through that, I was like, this promo is not about Roman Reigns. This promo is about Brock Lesnar because he's eventually leading up to saying, Brock Lesnar is better than you and all of those guys, and he will beat you in a fight. So I think the promo is just a little bit more about Lesnar than it was about Reigns. And I'm not completely against Heyman putting his stamp of approval on Roman Reigns. I think, but I think the fans were not buying it. I mean, the fans in Nashville were just viciously booing Paul Heyman for saying any of that stuff. So I don't know.
Well, exactly, it's the choice of words right now. It's just not the best time to even if it's a sarcastic tone to even compare him to these people. But that was WWE Fastlane, everybody. The Bryan and Roman match was fantastic, so definitely check that out. Rusev and Cena is worth checking out because these are the two main feuds going into Mania that you should definitely have your eyes on. But just changing gears now, just before we move on to our first commercial break, NXT has been fantastic. There's been no doubt about it. We've loved every single network special. The television's consistent. It's just full of life. But now it looks like in the coming weeks we're going to be getting some old WWE faces on NXT. Now, the first one that brought my attention to this was the appearance of Rhino last week. Now, I'm all for having like some enhancement talent coming in and rubbing shoulders with these new up-and-coming guys, guys that have had exposure on the main event roster. I just don't really know why Rhino would be taking up time, because it looks like he's going to be feuding with Finn Balor and Sami Zayn in the coming weeks. Shouldn't this time be used to kind of like create more characters and emphasize those guys more than having Rhino be front and center on a NXT?
We've kind of talked about Tyson Kidd and Curtis Axel and kind of them building those guys up as veterans that they can put down there, and the young guys can go over on them. And I think that's the role that Rhino will play, and I think that's the role that Brian Kendrick will play if he sticks around as well. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not completely against that. I'd like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing guys like Rhino coming back and just working a month with the NXT talent and putting somebody over. I mean, I wouldn't be completely against that. And I think the announcers made a good point that this kind of stuff where Rhino comes back is to recharge and revitalize his career. And I think them selling NXT as this hot spot that everyone's trying to get get some TV time on, I thought was a nice touch by them, and
yeah, but
I'm not completely against it.
There's only an hour of television every single week on the WWE Network, and I just think you could definitely use that time better to give the Finn Balors and the Kevin Owens more mic time so they can develop their promo abilities better, instead of having Rhino matches where at the end of the day Rhino's not going to win the NXT Championship. I freaking hope not. This is all about the young bloods. I'm fine with Rhino coming in maybe for a couple of weeks and having a little mini TV feud with someone, and having the other guy go over, and it's a big deal. Tyson Kidd's great in that role. I was very surprised by the pop. I definitely marked out. Did you? I unfortunately, again, the internet ruined it for me this time around. Just like the internet ruined Fastlane for me. I just want more time given to the young guys first and foremost, and obviously we'll see how it all pans out in the future. Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we get back, we're going to lead into our Video Vault visit of the week. And we're going to be going into a match that has some kind of tie-in with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan from Fastlane. What's that tie-in going to be? Well, stick around and I'll be able to tell you right after the break.
So you're cruising around the internet looking for some entertainment. What if I told you there's a hard-hitting, fresh, and opinionated podcast out there covering everything from WWE and TNA to the NFL, the NBA, and MLB? Well, that's reality. Main Event Madness is here. Don't miss us every week on MainEventMadness.com, as well as on TuneIn Radio and Stitcher.com. Main Event Madness, our wrestling, your sports, simply madness.
Okay, we're back. Main Event Madness Radio, nearly every single week, coming to you with John Curry and Alfonso Marion, talking like we are, pro wrestling from a different point of view, but also, Major League Baseball, NFL, nearly every single good sport that happens in North America is covered by Main Event Madness. So definitely check them out if you haven't already. But in regards to us, follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Arbreak. and follow Main Event Madness on Spreaker to stay in touch with the past, present, and future episodes of this show, Wrestling's Rope Break. Also, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling's Rope Break to not only stay in tune with the show, but also see what me and Eron are up to in the world of pro wrestling and our other ventures, especially in 4 weeks' time when I'm going to be live at WrestleMania. I've got a ton of shows. I've got 8 shows in 5 nights. Obviously, we'll give you a rundown next week of what to expect from Wrestling's Rope Break. It's going to be daily shows. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night, and everything in between. You want everything covered? I'm going to be there doing it with Eron from Naugatuck, Connecticut. We're going to be bouncing off each other with every single show that's going to be happening, so look forward to that. And also bookmark us on a website at www.wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com. That's weebly.com, so you, the listener, can get a holistic and diehard Wrestling's Rope Break experience. Okay, so the Video Vault visit this week, I really wanted to choose a match from the past that kind of made an argument that I have for putting WrestleMania title shots on the line at the February pay-per-view. I really want to make an argument why this is not a good idea. So I went back in the past and went to 2006 and found Randy Orton versus Rey Mysterio from No Way Out. Now, obviously the main event title shot was on the line. Rey Mysterio won the 2006 Royal Rumble and went the longest time in Royal Rumble history. I think it was over 62 minutes, Eron?
Yep.
Yeah, so he went a very, very long time, put himself over in the process. It was really good, great performance. And we had Randy Orton, being the weasel, cocky heel that he was, using Eddie Guerrero's death to instigate himself into Rey putting up his WrestleMania title shot on the line. Now, I thought there was a lot of controversy surrounding this at the time. And looking back, I was a bit disgusted that WWE would even pull an angle like this, using Eddie Guerrero's death as heat for Randy Orton. And I thought Randy Orton was good enough of a performer that he didn't really even need to be mocking the actual dead Eddie Guerrero to get himself over as a heel. But regardless, the match itself was Orton embellishing the heel character. And really, if you watch this without even looking at the build-up and taking the match for what it was, Orton just was the perfect prick in this match. I loved him. I thought the way he was just ruffling up Rey Mysterio all the way through the match. I did think that this whole big man, little man dynamic is overplayed in WWE, and we didn't really see it in the Bryan versus Roman Reigns match. In fact, it was very much neck and neck, and I really liked the change of pace because of obviously Daniel Bryan's a smaller guy, and Rey Mysterio was pretty much a little bit smaller than Daniel Bryan against Randy Orton, and I just didn't like the fact that Rey Mysterio was bullied, and the commentators talking about the fact that just end the match, beat Rey Mysterio. We should be putting over the guy who won the Royal Rumble, not just shooting him down. But in the end, for those who don't know, Randy Orton pins Rey Mysterio. Now, Eron, my question to you is really from all this: should Mania title shots be defended in between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania? Because it kind of undoes the great work that was this Royal Rumble in 2006, because Rey Mysterio went the distance. He entered at number 3, I think. Number 2. And went all the way to the end and lasted 62 minutes. And then to have his title shot just screwed out of him, for the sake of quote-unquote good storytelling, it's a bit weak.
Yeah, I think it kind of brings up the question, should there even be a February pay-per-view in general? And maybe should WWE flip those two as far as even this year with Fastlane? Should Fastlane and Royal Rumble almost switch places so you don't have that kind of, because I always feel like the February pay-per-view is just a roadblock, if anything, to the road to WrestleMania. It makes them come up with either a new storyline or something to just fill that pay-per-view. And I think even with Reigns and Bryan, they needed something to fill the pay-per-view, and they kind of threw that in there, similar to with Mysterio and Orton. So I don't know. I don't like defending Royal Rumble title shots. I just think it's a lot of filler. It's cheap. And it kind of takes away from the Royal Rumble match itself, because if we're gonna have somebody defend that spot, it's exactly. I'd rather it just completely be done with. I don't really like it.
Yeah, I think it just undervalues the worth of the Royal Rumble. Like, I think that the same thing was kind of felt with the Elimination Chamber matches that was happening after the Royal Rumble concluded. I mean, you have this Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that the champion would defend his championship in the match. It's like, well, then I don't even need to win the Royal Rumble. All I need to do is beat one person in the singles match to qualify to get my chance at the championship. It's sometimes WWE just likes to just overcloud what they're doing sometimes and just keep things simple, and respect what the Royal Rumble means in the company. It's definitely been devalued, and here we are again in 2015 with Roman Reigns defending his WrestleMania title shot, and it's like, well, I understand where they're coming from. They wanted to add Daniel Bryan in the mix because they kind of had to, but this should be in an emergency situation only to fall back on. They shouldn't be doing this nearly every 3 or 4 years. But that was the match from this week, the Video Vault visit, Orton versus Rey Mysterio. It is up on YouTube if you don't have the WWE Network. Again, if you don't have the network, I don't know what you're doing. You should definitely just fork out the $10 a month. It's such good value. Technically $12 down here because the US dollar is... Yes, I know, $12.44 I checked the other day.
Well, if you are going to subscribe to the WWE Network, make sure you do it through ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com. You can go on ProWrestlingPowerhouse.com and go to WWE.com to sign up for it through us, and we'll get a little bit of a kickback for that. So that'd be real nice if you can do that.
Okay, so just to finish up this show, we're going to be going to our Spotlight question of the week. Okay, so Aaron, what was the Spotlight question for last week? So just to remind all the fans.
Well, last week's Spotlight question was, is Goldberg overrated, or does he garner unwarranted hatred? And, I kind of went on a little bit of a rant that, last week that I don't really like Goldberg very much, and I think he's a little bit overrated. Well, actually,
Aaron, exactly.
I don't like the guy, so
against...
what do you want me to do?
I want you to respect where he came from and what he offered to the business, because I will say that because we actually have a few people that agree with me. Okay, Ruben Ortiz said, I don't think Goldberg was really all that bad. The man sold lots of tickets and merchandise. He's done some cool things in the ring, and people really loved him. I'm one of them.
What an endorsement.
He had a great look. He was strong. He was unbelievable. So I think it was smart for WCW to push him. However, I still believe he was a bit overrated. He was great for WCW. He was a feature for the whole week. He was booked perfectly, and he helped sell out 50,000 people in the Georgia Dome for one episode of WCW Nitro for one of their biggest ratings ever. So, On the other side, Joseph Chaplin says, Goldberg was directly equivalent to Ryback. Solid, if unspectacular, and a sloppy worker. Ryback has at least fun on the stick, meaning the microphone. Goldberg was also alleged to have a bad attitude, and Jericho basically put him in his place. Basically, there have been miles and miles of better stars since. It's just a matter of booking. Well, yes, Joseph, it is a matter of booking because he was booked well. He had great intensity, and I think he was an asset to WCW. Maybe his WWE run. Maybe that's the problem, Aaron. Maybe that's the problem that we've got here between you and Goldberg, is that you haven't taken stock of what he did in WCW and what he gave to the company. Well, and what he was.
Here's the thing.
Because you have this WWE-centric idea of what Goldberg was, and Goldberg was the guy who wore Goldust's wig and was had tried to create a personality and failed.
Listen. Right now, I can fully admit I'm a WWE guy through and through. I didn't watch much of Nitro because I wasn't really around for it. I was young, so I'm a WWE guy. I will admit that 100%. But right now, I'm going through the Nitro episodes on WWE Network. I'm starting from the beginning, and I plan on going all the way through to. I'm planning on watching everything WCW on the network. When that's done, I will come back to you with a full opinion on Goldberg. But as of right now, the man is overrated, and I cannot stand him. So there's that.
It's very short-sighted by Aaron.
I'd rather see Gilbert.
Wow. Yep. Wow. Okay.
Buried. Put the shovel.
Okay, Aaron, give us your spotlight question for the week for the fans to answer this week.
So Pro Wrestling Powerhouse is doing a complete series, a recap of WrestleMania 1 through 30. Every single day we'll be going through a WrestleMania, reviewing it. So in the spirit of WrestleMania, and as we get closer to WrestleMania 31, I want to know what your favorite or most shocking WrestleMania moment in history was, as far as your favorite, as far as kind of shocking you, putting you out of your seats. Well, a personal one for me was WrestleMania 21, where Hulk Hogan emerged out of nowhere to save Eugene. That was one of my favorites of all time.
Oh, wow. That's a very niche moment in WrestleMania history.
Oh, I mean, I popped like a little girl when I saw that.
I'm just trying to think of my one. I mean, Chris Benoit winning the World Heavyweight Championship was, I guess, a shocking, emotional moment for me, just off the top of my head. I think I'll come back with some more ones after thinking about it for a week. So, but for the time being, and we want to know what your most shocking moment in WrestleMania history is, you can do that by posting your moments on our Facebook at facebook.com/wrestlingsropebreak. Be sure to like us first, of course. You can send a tweet to us with your greatest moment at WrestlingRbreak, or you can write to us on our website, www.wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com, and we'll definitely get back to you there. And before we wrap up today, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that I've got 29 days left of my no alcohol road to WrestleMania. It's called the Dry Road to WrestleMania. I'm doing it for a healthy lifestyle. I'm doing it to better myself, but also I'm doing it for a charity. I am currently looking for sponsors to sponsor me on this Dry Road to WrestleMania for the Benevolent Society. It's an Australian non-for-profit organisation that takes care of disadvantaged children and families in regards to social situations or financial situations. They educate families in being better families and better role models in society. It's a really, really worthwhile cause. You can do it for 50 cents. You can do it for $20. It's so easy to find. Go to donateplanet.com and type in Dry Road to WrestleMania. You'll be able to find me. You'll be able to find my fundraiser. There's links all over our Facebook page for it. I do a weekly blog. I'm trying to do a weekly blog every single week, just showing everyone how my progress is going. And it's so easy to find it there. So any support would be fantastic. I'll be doing plugs for this every single week, so if you can give us some love my way for the Benevolent Society and for the Dry Road for WrestleMania, that would be fantastic. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you may be around the globe. And Eron, as always, I hope you have an amazing rest of your week.
Well, I hope you do as well, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks again for listening, everybody. We're going to catch you next week on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusive to Main Event Madness Radio. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for downloading Wrestling's Rope Break. Want to keep up to date with future episodes of the show? Answer our weekly questions, interact with Joel or Eron, or just go somewhere to discuss good old pro wrestling. It's easy. Start by following us on Twitter at WrestlingRbreak, then like us on Facebook at facebook.com/wrestlingsropebreak. Finally, bookmark and visit our website at www.wrestlingsropebreak.weebly.com. Wrestling's Rope Break. Everything pro wrestling by the count of 5. We will see you next week.